Naturalist Sudduth, and I'm with WOW, World of Wonder. We're a group that does nature activities for children with their parents, and here in Davidson. And we are, today we're going to lead a walk in the woods, and we're going to talk about some of the things that you see in the woods in the winter. I like going to the woods in the winter. I just wrap up. I put on warm clothes and gloves and a hat, and it's fun to be in the woods. You see different things than you do in the summer. And so I hope you'll give it a try if you're not already out walking in the woods. So I want you to think about using all of your senses when you're in the woods, not just your eyes. Think about what you see, but think about what you hear, and what you smell, and what you touch, and maybe even something to taste, but be careful about that. So the first thing I want to do is show you something that's right here on the ground. This is a little plant. It's called a crane fly orchid, and it has this leaf that comes up in the fall, and in the front of the leaf is green and the back of the leaf is purple. I think that's really neat. It's really pretty. It has a flower in the summer, and then the old top of the plant dies off, and what comes back up is this green and purple leaf. So we've used our eyes. Let's use all of our senses and go for a walk down this path. I'm listening for the birds. I'm looking up at the trees and seeing the pretty patterns that they make against the blue sky. There's a woodpecker I just heard. And then here's something interesting. Here's some tracks that a deer made here in this cleared spot. The deer hoof has two sides to it. There's several of them. It's also a dog track right there, I think. Let's stop and look at this tree, at this trunk of this tree. Look at the bark of this tree. This is something you can touch, something you can feel with your hand. Feel how rough it is. And look what else is here. It's not just this tree that's living here. There's this gray thing. This is called lichen, and it's a creature, I'll call it. It's algae and fungus growing together that makes this. And there's lots of different ones. I'm not sure the name of them, but this one is growing here on this oak tree, and it's gray. And next to it is this green moss. It says moss and lichen growing on the tree. Moss is a really interesting plant. There's more than one kind here. There's this one down here that has the light colored, light green moss, and up here is darker. And moss is a really interesting plant to think about, because one thing it does is the way it gets nutrition is by absorbing things from the atmosphere, and it absorbs heavy metals from the atmosphere, and that's good because that means those are things we are not absorbing. They're being absorbed by the moss. Something else I thought would be fun to do would be to do a rubbing of the bark of this tree. You can lay the piece of paper on the tree, and then you take a crayon and lay it sideways and rub over the bark, and it makes the pattern of the bark on the paper. It's just sort of an interesting pattern. You might like the way it looks. And one thing you can do is if you're really interested in trees and bark, you can learn to recognize different trees just by what their bark looks like. This is an oak tree, and there's lots of different kinds of trees out here in the woods, but this one is an oak.